Welcome back, kids. Remember, Miss Nancy said after this journey through Joseph's life, it's going to be once upon a truth, okay? We're not finishing, we're still going through the journey, and we're on part 6, and it's in Genesis, and it's chapter 43. Let's get started. The famine was sore in the land. Remember, a famine is no food. Remember the fat cows and fat corn, and then the lean ones? They're in the middle of this, so here we go. It came to pass when they had eaten up the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, this is talking about Jacob's sons, their father said unto them, now I don't know how many years or months, I imagine it was months maybe, I don't know, had passed, but remember Simeon is still back with Joseph in prison. But their father said unto them, go again, buy us a little food. And Judah, remember this is the other one that had a part in the pit. He was the one that said, oh, let's don't kill our brother. We'll just sell him. That's not as bad. Acting like he was all pious and everything, but he wasn't. He was about the money. Judah, close to Judas, like in Iscariot that betrayed Jesus. But anyway, Judah spake up, Judah spake up this time, and he said this, the man did solemnly protest unto us, saying, ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. If thou wilt send our brother with us, we will go down and buy thee food. But if thou wilt not send him, we will not go down. For the man said unto us, ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. And Israel, remember Israel and Jacob, their dad, saying, Israel said, wherefore dealt ye so ill with me as to tell the man whether ye have yet a brother? And they said, the man asked us straitly of our state and of our kindred, saying, is your father yet alive? Have ye another brother? And we told him according to the tenor of his words. Excuse me, Miss Nancy's having trouble. Could we certainly know that he would say, bring your brother down? No, they couldn't have had any idea. And Judah said unto Israel his father, send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die. Again, a very valid excuse. Both we and thou, and also our little ones. It wasn't just them. They all had families. 11 families here, and then the one there. I will be surety for him. So now Judah steps up to the plate. Of my hand shalt thou require him. If I bring him not unto thee, and set him before thee, then let me bear the blame forever. They are true men now, but it took some doing. For except we had lingered, surely now we had returned this second time. And their father Israel said unto them, if it must be so now, do this. Take of the best fruits in the land in your vessels, carry down the man a present, a little balm, a little honey, spices and myrrh, nuts and almonds, and take double money. Remember, their money had been found in their sacks, and I would have been scared to go back for that, but right now it's life or death for these guys. Take double the money in your hand, and the money that was brought again in the mouth of your sacks, carry it again in your hand. Peradventure, it was an oversight, meaning maybe they didn't get it, but 11 boys or 10 with Simeon still there. Take also your brother, he's finally relented to it, and arise, go again unto the man, and God Almighty give you, I love that, mercy before the man, that he may send away your other brother and Benjamin. If I be bereaved of my children, I am bereaved. And the men, and I think that also it made Israel, or Jacob the dad, grow up too. He got down to where he didn't have no choice, but he did love his sons. You got to give him that. And the men took that present, and they took double money in their hand, and Benjamin, and rose up and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the ruler of his house, bring these men home and slay, that means kill, and make ready. For these men shall dine with me at noon. I love to think through the Bible about some high noon things, like the old westerns, everything happened at high noon. But I thought this one was cool. And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid, and here's why. Because they were brought into Joseph's house, and they said, because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time, or we brought in, that he may seek occasion against us, and fall upon us, and take us for bondmen and our asses. And they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and they communed with him at the door of the house. I love the door. There's another type of Christ. And they said this, "Oh, sir, we came indeed down at the first time to buy food. And it came to pass when we came to the inn that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight, and we have brought it again in our hand, and other money have we brought down into our hands to buy food. We cannot tell who put our money in our sacks." Well, they didn't have to, because listen to this. And the steward said, "Peace be to you, fear not, your God and the God of your father hath given you treasure in your sacks." He didn't mention nothing about him. I had your money. In other words, he's fessing up. I did it, you didn't. God did it. And he brought Simeon out unto them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house, and gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he gave their asses provender, that's just food and drink and things to take care of them. And they made ready the present against Joseph, came at noon. In other words, they was getting it ready, probably getting their story straight and trembling and shaking and nervous. But they were supposed to meet Joseph at his house at noon to have a meal. And here's why. For they heard that they should eat bread there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house. And here we go again. And bowed themselves to him to the earth. And he asked them of their welfare, and said, "Is your father well? The old man of whom you spake, is he yet alive?" And they answered, "Thy servant, our father, is in good health. He is yet alive." And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance. That's exactly what he said in his dreams, that you bowed down and made obeisance to me. And that's what got them all upset. Plus the fact that, going way back, remember Jacob loved Joseph the best. Joseph and Benjamin had the same mother, and the rest of them was different. But anyway, I'm going back in time. And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin. Now this is Joseph, his mother's son, and said, "Is this your younger brother of whom ye spake unto me?" And he said, "God be gracious unto thee, my son." He called his younger brother his son. And Joseph made haste, that means he hurried, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother, and he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and wept there. And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and said, "Set on bread." He was ready to eat. And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves. And here's why. For the Egyptians which did eat with him, I skipped on. Because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptians. So they had to separate to eat. And they sat before him, now not Joseph's brothers, but his servants. And they, the brothers, sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. In other words, from the oldest to the youngest, they sat around the table. And the men marveled one at another. And he took and sent messes unto them from before him, but Benjamin's mess was 5 times so much as any of theirs. And they drank and were merry with him. I'm so glad that they got to have a little joyous time together. At this time, Joseph knows everything, but the boys, they don't know yet, but they're going to find out. Those dreams were powerful that Joseph had. God gave him those dreams, and God worked this out. And later on, we'll find out all that. Joseph gives him credit. So what was going on in the land in the first of this part of his story? The famine was sore, wasn't it? As time went by, what happened? They had eaten up all the corn that they had. And so what did Jacob or Israel, their dad, say? He said, go again, buy us a little food that we can live and not die. But who spoke up this time? Judah did. What did he say? If you send Benjamin with us, we'll go get food. But if you won't send Benjamin with us, we won't go get food. And why did he say that? Because he said the man told us we would not see his face unless our little brother came with us. Then what did Jacob say? Why did you even tell him you had a brother? I love that. What did Judah reply? He said, the man specifically asked us of the state of our father and if we had any more brothers. So what did Jacob do? He sent the lad with them. But who was it that promised it was on him? Judah said, I will be surety for him. If I don't bring him back, let me bear the blame for how long? Forever. And then he says, if we hadn't lingered, we'd already been down there and back. But what did Israel say? Finally, he's coming to his senses, and he said, if it must be, it must be. And he tells them to get some things. What was it? To take to Joseph. He said, take the best fruits, take a present, a little balm, a little honey, some nuts, and some myrrh, and some almonds, and take it. And he said, and take the money from the first time. When they arrived in Egypt with Benjamin, who did they stand before? Joseph, of course, the governor of the land. What did Joseph tell his servant? He said, bring them home, slay, make ready. They are going to dine with me at what time? High noon. It don't say high in the Bible. It's just me saying high noon because it's a thing in the Westerns. Anyway, how did the men feel then? And why? They were afraid because what did they think? They thought about the money, and that's why they were there. What were they afraid that Joseph would do to them? That he'd take them all for servants and their animals for service animals too. But what did they explain at Joseph's door to his steward? They told him about the money the first time, didn't they? And how when they found it at the end, and that it might have been a mistake, but they explained, we brought it again, and we bought some more. We brought that back and we got some more. So they was trying to explain it away. But what did the steward say to him? He said, peace be to you. God gave you the treasure in your sacks. I did it. So he finally told him that. So then I guess they was thinking, oh my, well, what in the world? I don't know about that. I'm just thinking, nosy Nancy, what might have happened. But what happened when Joseph returned home? They gave him his presents, and they bowed themselves to the ground and gave him obeisance, just like in the dream. And what did Joseph do after he saw Benjamin? He wept sore, but he entered into his chamber to do it. He didn't want the boys seeing that. What could the Egyptians not do with the Hebrews? They couldn't eat with them. How come? It was an abomination for the Egyptians to eat with them. That's why. And what happened next? They all sat down at the table, and they all got a mess of food. But how much did Benjamin get? 5 messes. I don't know if he could eat them all or not, but I thought that was pretty cool. And how did they feel then? They were all happy. The relief from the boys, I imagine, or the men, I should say, after finding out they wasn't responsible for that money, was a great relief. So they're sitting there enjoying each other from the oldest to the youngest. But I will see you next time, and after this journey through Joseph's life will be Once Upon a Truth. Bye, kids.